Well, all right, and hello and welcome everyone to a very special podcast episode of Christine's Blessing. I am.com. No number for this one. This is one of the promised bonus tracks in the month of November that I promised, where I am going to have a special guest. Guess what? I have a special guest. And before I introduce my special guest, I do want to acknowledge, I did say I was going to have this on Tuesday, right? My first, with the podcast episode I dropped on Tuesday, I was going to have my first special guest podcast episode. And don't you all know that I actually had a guest. We recorded a podcast episode on Monday night after I said that I wasn't going to because it was too late. We actually did record one on Monday night. And I did whatever I did and there was no sound on the recording. So it was just trust. It was a super awesome podcast. You all would have loved it, right? You would have loved it. We killed it. We rocked it, right? So much to my chagrin, but also, it's an opportunity to be with my girl again. I got to redo my very first ever special guest podcast episode. But if I learn nothing inside of this 365 podcast and 365 day game, it's shit's gonna happen, right? And that is life. As much as you try to prepare for every possible foreseeance, things happen, right? So I've got my special guest here again with me tonight, and you better believe I am recording on 2 devices. Why? Because if nothing, I learned from my mistakes, right? So let me introduce my special guest today. Her name is Thalia Autry. You may know her from Instagram at Thalia Talks. You may know her as my best friend. Either way, welcome Thalia as the very first guest speaker of Christine's Blessing.
Hey.
Hi.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. I am happy you are happy to be here. So, let us begin then, and look, everyone, it's so funny because, we didn't know what we were going to talk about on the very first time we did this. We still don't know what the heck we're going to talk about this time, but you better believe when Thalia and Christine get together, magic gets made, right? So Thalia, you're more than welcome. If you do want to touch on what we talked about last time, you can. I mean, they won't know.
Yeah, I know. And I don't want to do it in a way like I'm trying to capture that moment.
Yeah.
But it is a conversation that I am heavily in because I am creating, going after my first million.
Yeah.
And so, with that declaration, like all other declarations, you start to see things that you didn't see.
And what are some of those things you're starting to see?
That I was totally inauthentic about my relationship with money. And how I was able to see it was, I took on this exercise where you look at your finances over a certain time period, and what I realized that I wasn't as awful with managing money as I would communicate. That I actually am amazingly and miraculously resourceful.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know Thalia has 3 generations living in her household with her. And she does not have a conventional job. Your traditional 9 to 5. She's a certified accountant. And I'm pretty sure there are some other accolades there I'm missing. I'm not familiar with them inside of the accounting world. But Thalia went to school and got a degree in accounting. She is an accountant, right? She does have clients that she does that with. And she does not have your traditional 9 to 5 job. So when she says, for my listeners who are out there, when she says, she discovered how resourceful she was around money, she actually means not like, oh, I got a 9 to 5 and my paycheck and, every 2 weeks and I manage my money. No, this Thalia is someone who can make things appear that circumstances say shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, really great. So great. So what's that? So where is that going to take you now, Thalia? Because if anything, and just so you know, right, I have 2 listeners and 7 unique listeners. No idea what the 7 unique listeners means. It's just a statistic on Anchor that I have access to, right? And so for the 2 listeners and the 7 unique listeners, right? Because we're not committed that this was just a great conversation where you got to learn that Thalia got that she's much more resourceful with money than she thought, right? You all aren't taking the 5.5 minutes out of your day that you've taken so far to listen to this podcast to find out about how great our lives are, right? So Thalia, what's something we can give to our listeners as they're listening along? I mean, there may be something, a lie that they have about themselves, something, as you said, an inauthenticity about themselves where they've been, putting themselves up as one thing, or what is the word when you front, right? You put up a front. We're some racketeers here, people. We got our storefront, where it says, oh, don't give me money. I can't handle money. But in the background, no, you're a freaking boss when it comes to money.
And the thing that's really interesting, because I had that, my relationship was that way. Like, I was really negligent about being responsible for knowing where I was, what was so, with my money at any given time, right? And it was that activity, a new activity, that gave me access to the lie I've been telling.
And that new activity you took was actually doing that exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have resisted doing that like forever. Never had a sore need to do it. I figured I didn't have enough money to manage, so I didn't care. Right? And what's really cool about that is that most people think that you can get to what you don't know from what you already know. Right?
Yeah.
When actually, or they want to wait for a breakthrough before they take a new action. And what they don't get is taking the new action that has you have the breakthrough.
So great.
Right?
Yeah.
So by taking that new action and actually pulling up my bank statements and writing down where I was spending money is what actually had, or what uncovered the lie I have held on to so dearly. Is that I just suck with money. Or that my life sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Or I can't do A, B, and C because I don't have money. And then when I actually look, and I can even pull it way beyond this certain circumstance, like, I really haven't worked since 2008, right? And I've taken courses that were close to $1,000.
Not including travel, not including the travel associated with those courses. Yeah, you're right.
For years, with no money.
Yeah.
And if you saw my shoe collection, and I still don't know how I do that. So, like, I really don't. I'm not even present to it. You would think I had tons and tons of money, right? And being able to keep a roof over my head and utilities over my head, right? And it just amazes me, our mechanism, when we actually create a context to come from and how decisive that is.
Yeah.
So it had me operate that way. So what I got was, because I was so resourceful, if I played the wealth game, like, I'm really excited about what's possible inside of that. Because I played being impoverished very well.
Yeah.
Pretty good at it. Like, I'm really, really good at it.
Yes. Yeah. And look, I know you all being my listeners have heard me speak about games, right? This game I'm playing in this life, this game I created. right? That's one of those, it's one of the trainings Thalia and I have, right? Where what if life was a game? What if it wasn't this serious thing that people make it out to be? Right? Oh, I have to get it to work on time. Serious, serious, serious. Oh, I have to pay my bills on time. Serious, serious, serious. Right? What if you could create what if life was about creating games and playing games? Right? And Thalia, what I hear, and I'm listening for the title of this podcast arising in our conversation as well. Right? And what I hear is you had been avoiding reality. And even some may say purposefully disconnecting from reality regarding your finances, right? And not like you were intentionally doing that because you thought that would have life be easier. It's the way we were taught, right? You don't talk about the elephant in the room. You don't go to the doctor if you think you're sick, because if you go to the doctor and they say you're sick, then you're really sick. It's like these little one might even call them microaggressions towards ourselves that we have, right? And so what I'm hearing is reality is like the new access. Reality is your access to not avoiding reality. So something there, I'll tease it out before I drop this podcast. Don't worry, listeners, it'll be on point just like every other one was. Yeah. But that's the beauty of it as well, right? There is no script for life. And there's nothing that says just because you came in a certain way that you're going to go out a certain way. One may even say that was the American dream, why so many people come here. Right? So and
it's not a bad thing. It was a game that worked at one time.
Yeah.
It was. For whatever intention that I had, it worked. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
It really did. I raised 5 kids. All of them went to college. Mm-hmm. No money. Right? So it was a game. I just decided it doesn't serve me anymore.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's another game.
Yeah.
And remember when we were talking before, when I told you I can remember intentionally creating poverty, it was I had reached some kind of financial crisis, and I was looking for the strategy to get through that and others, because I didn't want that to happen to me. And what was clear to me is that I didn't want to be middle class. I was either going to be impoverished or I was going to be wealthy. And at the time, what occurred easier and quicker was poverty. Mm. And what I discovered was this conversation that I had about wealth and having to deal with people and not wanting to do it, I still have to deal with it inside of a poverty conversation. It's just different conversation.
Yeah.
And how I relate to it is very differently. Like if you say no to me inside of this poverty game, I'm okay. I'm just like, okay, it's not Christine. Next. But then when I look at, okay, if I'm playing this wealth game, if you say no, I take it personal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like it's all the where you're standing, where you're looking, your point of view, all of that, right? Yeah, really great. So Thalia, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Winning the game you're playing.
You are always winning the game you're playing. I so love that you said that, because I was going to, my invitation to my listeners, the two listeners and 7 unique listeners, right? Is to look in your life. First of all, where are you living life not in the experience that it's a game? And you don't have to don't take your whole life on, because that's a whole lot. You just pick 1 or 2 areas where you don't experience fun, play, and ease. Like life's not a game for you there. And then look and see, right? Because we are always playing some game and we are always winning the game we're playing. What game are you playing in that area of your life such that it looks that way? Whether you're playing the game of being a victim, or you're playing the game of being an aggressor, or you're playing the game of being right, that the people are wrong, or you're playing the game, whatever it is that you're playing. Yeah, I'm gonna stop giving you examples so you're not locked in. Stop being lazy. Do the work yourself. Right? But really, I invite you to have this conversation, make a difference. Hell, this is the second time we've had it. For us, at least. I know not for you all. Right? So we really do invite you to purposefully connect to reality in those areas that you have purposefully disconnected from reality. And look and see, something new may arise. You know, and Thalia, I know inside of this, one of the actions you're going to take, one of the vehicles, if you will, one of the games you're creating is a series of books. Tell us about your books.
So they are going to be quickies. And, you know, I thought of a name of the first one. The first book is going to be How to Avoid Being Scammed Inside of Online Dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to call it Scam I Am.
Very nice.
So it's a play on Dr. Susie's book.
Yeah.
Right? Because what I've discovered about people, and I think it was Mary Poppins that said, a spoonful of sugar
helps the medicine go down. Yep.
Absolutely. So there's a way to have the conversation that takes away the significance so that people are actually open to getting what there is to get for them and apply in their lives.
So great. Well, we for sure will have you back as a guest when that first book drops, and if I am recalling correctly, which I think I am, 30 days.
30 days.
All right, you all, you've heard it here first. I've now for the second time. Thalia is going to be putting out her quickies, her QuickBooks, which I think is just a fabulous play on words given she's an accountant. All right, so that's the kind of cheese I bring here at Christine's Blessing. To those of you who are still with us, thank you. Thalia, again, thank you for doing this a second time. I promise you I have it recorded now, right? And, you know, be looking for this to drop everywhere you listen to podcasts and on Spotify. All right, this is Christine's Blessing, IAM.com. My special guest today was Thalia Autry. You can follow her on Instagram at Thalia Talks, see what other interesting things she's up to, as well as follow her in her journey as she creates her first million. And look, if creating your first million is something you're looking at doing, definitely for sure reach out to her. One of the things Thalia does is she is a financial coach in addition to being a CPA. So if that's a game you want to take on, by all means, reach out to her. All right? Have a great rest of your whatever part of the day it is that you are listening to this podcast in. We'll see you next time on Christine's Blessing.